Welcome to Talking Restaurants with your hosts, Chuck and Ken, your partners in building profits and creating more time.
Welcome to Talking Restaurants. I'm Ken Dudak.
And I'm Chuck Villafranca.
This is Restaurant Profitability Part 4A. We're going to do an A version, okay?
Sorry for that little chuckle there. We had a little inside joke before we came on the air here. So we're going back into operating costs. We talked in Part 4, Restaurant Profitability. We went over a bunch of different operating expenses, and I think we left off on insurances. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're just getting a nice insurance package. Make sure you give the insurance agent your sales projection. That will help you lower your cost. But they can audit you, so, be within reason. They're not going to come out and audit you or raise your price if you're, a little bit off, but just don't go too crazy because then they'll hit you back with that cost. So just make sure you fire your workman's comp. It's, you can kind of get all that from the same company. And the more you get from one company, the better deal you can get.
Right. You're talking about fire and theft and comp.
Yeah. If you get it all from one company.
But you said fire your comp. So
fire
that's kind of funny.
Fire your comp?
Fire your comp. No, we can't. We have to have a comp, right? That's legal. But we're not insurance agents, so make sure you definitely check with your insurance guy.
But we do know quite a bit about it through experience. But always check with your agent to make sure you got everything you need, that you have. Different states may have different laws. I mean, you never know. So just check into all that. And we're going to move on to water. Okay, water is definitely a controllable expense. Just make sure you're maintaining your faucets if you have any leaks or drips. Or I remember in one case, one of my clients had their slop sink, right? And when they had both faucets on, they didn't get any hot water. And the hot water tank kept moving and moving and moving, which goes back to your gas bill. All they had to do, we called in the plumber. Well, why don't we have hot water? We have a X amount of gallon tank. Right. It should be more than sufficient, but we weren't getting hot water. So for whatever reason, he told us, and I'm not a plumber, so I didn't really understand everything he was talking about. Yeah. But just by having those slop sink handles on, because you hit the button, right? It doesn't really work, but your faucets are always on.
Right.
So check, if you're not getting hot water, check that, just for the heck of it, right? So that was just one case where his burner was burning all the time trying to make hot water because that was running.
Right.
But make sure your faucets are on, make sure your employees are not just walking away. I mean, if you see them walk away from something and the faucet's constantly running, then they go in the cooler to get a case of ribeye out to cut it, and they come back, I left the faucet on.
Right. Or they're trying to thaw stuff out, and they're
running.
Have a thaw process. Yeah, absolutely.
Great point, Ken, because I see that all the time. Mm-hmm. And make sure you're following, pull the stuff out a day ahead of time. Yep. Have a prep list, a pull list, if you will. And make sure you're pulling that product out, and you will save, in that case, gallons. And gallons, thousands of gallons of water. Yep. Because how long does it take to thaw out, let's say you pull out, salmon would be quicker, but I don't know, give me an example of something that would take real long, like 10 pounds of ground beef.
Yeah, thank you.
Right? You got
that both to the same thing.
You got the water going on that thing for like hour and a half.
Yeah, it's crazy. Right? Absolutely. Yep.
So just make sure all your faucets and everything are not leaking.
Right.
Get a better thaw process in place.
Right. And if you have a restaurant that's out in the middle of one of the on a country, you might have well water, and you don't want to empty your well either. That's a huge thing too, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't,
Well, because when I had my restaurant out in Pembroke, that's one thing we always had to care about.
They still have well water people?
Yeah, you got the water. Where's it going to come from out in the country?
I don't know. Amish people have restaurants? I don't know. Well, they don't believe in all that, right? So they have well water. They eat. But they got well water, right?
Yeah. But most people have well water out in the country. I'm just saying, that's one thing that sometimes you have to be careful. You don't drain the well. I know it's not a big deal, but let's move on to...
Drain the well. That's what we're doing with operating expenses. Draining the well.
Let's move on.
You're going to edit that right out.
No, I'm not. All right.
So let's move on to smallware and flatware. And just in case people don't understand, which 99.99% of the restaurant owners do, smallware and flatware. Flatware is your plates and your silverware and glassware, anything that's going out to the table. And your smallwares are any utensils, line spoons,
measuring
storage
cups,
containers, Lexons, and things like that. You know, ice cream scoopers and so on. So what we did in one case, I did a audit because one of my clients kept saying he's buying, I don't know,
Too much
25
silverware.
dozen of each silverware every month. I'm just throwing a number. I don't know exactly what the number was. But he's buying it every single month. He's buying tons of silverware. So what I did is I did an inventory. And I took his, I don't know what they call the little dish machine things that your silverware goes in, that goes in the dishwasher. I forget what they call them.
Silverware holder?
Yeah, I think that's the name. But anyway, I would put 25 or 20 in each container, line them all up, you know, spoons, knives, forks. And if I had 10 butter knives with 25 in each one or whatever, then that would be 250.
Right.
So I'd inventory it that way. Then 2 weeks later, I did another inventory. And because he was buying a really nice piece of silverware, and it was expensive, he lost $500 in 2 weeks.
Ooh. 2 weeks? Wow.
$500
Wow.
in the garbage. So
It's like $6,000 a year.
We suggest at least once a month. Yeah, so that's $6,000 a year if it's once a month. That he's losing $500, and I don't think he was losing that much every month. But
Right.
we didn't, or every 2 weeks, but we didn't really know.
No.
So we started inventorying it, and let the staff know we're inventorying it.
Yep.
And it immediately goes down based on that. But
That's just lazy servers or lazy bus
there's other
people. Or,
solutions to that too.
Yeah.
For a couple $100, you can buy one of the big magnets. That'll save some of it, because if it's wrapped in a napkin, it's not going to get caught by that big magnet. But it will catch some. What I would suggest is clear garbage bags.
Yep.
And spot check. You don't have to do it all the time, every time they take the garbage out. But if they know you're spot checking,
Yep.
they're going to be careful. All right? You're going to lose a lot less.
Yep.
So maybe twice a day. You
Yep.
go out there and you have them, you know, if you see one in there through the bag, right? I used to dump it out.
Yeah.
And then make them clean it up.
I had a manager taught me one time to take a clear bag and you bring all the servers in and you dump the bag. You tell them, I'm going to dump this bag on the floor. If I find one item of silverware in here, you clean it up. If I find nothing, I'll clean it up. Then he said he always kept a fork in his pocket in case, he really didn't even slip it in.
That's big.
No, he was kidding. He was joking. But, I didn't take it to that effect, but I would get like a big Lexon, and I would put the bag in there, and I'd open up the bag, and I'd search it, make them search with me. And, yeah, but you said spot check, and then they know you're spot checking, they're going to be more cautious.
You don't got to check every single bag
Right,
because the time factor's not there. But definitely inventory that once a month.
Absolutely.
Very, very important. That goes on your profit and loss statement. That's money out of your pocket. So, same with plates. I mean, we get breakage all the time. How many times you get, $5, $6, $7 plates cracking in your back room? Oops.
Yeah.
So I would inventory those too, because that's very, very important, and it's a huge expense. Mm-hmm. So let's move on from that, and let's go to linens.
Linens.
One thing that I noticed, working with my clients, came January, right? And in comes the linen company. And the guy says, Chuck, can I sit down and talk to you? I said, sure. He goes, we're having a 3% increase this year. I said, because it's January? First of the year? You're just going to raise it to 3%. I said,
that's a good point. That's when you really need to be critical of watching your numbers. Yeah.
The point that you said earlier, too, fuel charges and stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody adds it on. Don't let them charge you for fuel.
Yep.
Unless you see, what's that gas? I had a brain fart here with the gas. We have leaded, unleaded. What's the gas? The big truck?
Premium?
Diesel.
Yeah.
So unless you see diesel fuel jump $1 a gallon or something, don't let them get you for a fuel charge.
But that's what we talk about with the cost, the stop cost. That stuff's already rolled in, and that's already an operating cost that they should be absorbing through pricing all around.
Right. It never should be on an invoice. It's bad business on their part. Yeah. But getting back to the 3%, the guy says to me, it's January. Every year we do this. I'm like, well, not this year. And he just looked at me like,
I love it.
He looked at me like
he probably everybody else says okay. You know, because they're
right.
not thinking.
Yeah. So I said, well, let me just call Morgan, and I'm sure he'll match your.
There's always competitors that want your business.
He'll match your price for the next 3-year contract, and I'll just go there.
Yep.
And he was like, oh, no, Mr. Phil, if you just sign a 3-year with me, then we can keep you at the same price. Great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I mean, nobody wants to change companies. I mean, it's hard. It's a little bit of work.
Right.
But you can't let them take you to the bank, because they will.
Yep.
They just will. It's
if they know every year I give them a 2% raise or a 3% raise, they're going to be fine with it. I'm going to do it every year.
And it's not just them. It's the other companies that come in to do it to you, too.
Right, yeah.
This company wants 3%. That company wants 3%.
Yep.
Then you got this company wants 3%. Next thing you know, out of your restaurant pocket, you're paying 15% more in operating costs because they just said so.
Do you realize after everything that we've talked about in these last 2 episodes, we're almost bordering on between $50,000 and $100,000 in just operating costs you can save a year?
It's unbelievable.
That's almost two. That's like 2 assistant managers. If you pay them both $50,000 a year, it's ridiculous.
And it all falls back to having a system in place in your business. And I'm not talking QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a great accounting tool.
Right. Yep.
I don't want to say anything bad about that because it has its place. But I'm talking about a profit and loss statement.
Right.
Like you go to any corporation and they have systems in place.
Right.
Especially the profit and loss statement.
Right.
It breaks down everything you need by category,
and
by item.
Yeah. And a profit and loss statement isn't just something corporations have. Every business should have a profit and loss. Your balance sheet, everything should be there. You should have it. It's a no-brainer. If you're in business and you don't have a profit and loss statement, shame on you.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be another whole segment on profit and loss statement, running food costs, operating costs, labor costs, how to pinpoint it, how to read it, how to figure out where your issues are, and then from there, once you figure out where the issues are, how to manage it.
Absolutely.
And let's get into repairs.
No, let's talk about paper. I want to talk about paper
we
because
didn't talk about paper yet.
I want to talk about paper because remember we were talking off air before about sales tax. And now there's some states that don't have sales tax, but let's talk about New York State so specifically because that's our main market right now.
In New York State, paper you have taxable and non-taxable.
Right.
And anything, this is the easiest way to say it, and we can have a list of that on our website for New York State. Mm-hmm. I would suggest check with your state to see if they have the same thing.
Right.
Anything that you use for takeout, souffle cups and lids, napkins. Not napkins because that's
to-go containers.
That's in-out usage.
Right. To-go containers.
Anything that you use in and out, paper is taxable.
Right.
Anything that leaves your door, bags,
straws,
foam containers, or the plastic
cups.
Containers, not straws because it's in-out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, there's a whole list of items that you do not get taxed on. So you'll get some paper companies out there, and I busted a paper company for one of my clients, charging the 8.75% sales tax on those items.
Mm-hmm.
It is the paper company's responsibility to make sure they say to you to the sales certificate, the resale certificate. You fill that out, you're not charged tax on those items.
Right.
So what they'll do, they'll come in, they'll make it look like they're 8% lower than everybody else,
mm-hmm.
and then they charge you tax on those items. Well, we did an audit. You can go back, I think, with the state 6 years. You can go back to reclaim that sales tax. And then, so that's what we did. And then they went and audited the paper company. Because what did the paper company do? They took that in as profit.
Yeah. Smart, yeah.
So they're not paying sales tax on it when it comes in the paper company's building either.
Right.
They're not paying tax on it, but they're collecting tax on it against the law.
Yep.
Not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that's against the law. Charging sales tax on items that are not taxable. So I think they came up to $1,300 a year.
Right.
Over 6 years.
They're taxable, but that's the tax you charge when you have it to go, and it takes it to go. That's where the tax comes in. You're double taxing the item, is what it is, and that's why.
Well, sales tax, that's just basically on food, but I'm talking about the paper itself.
Well, yeah, but that's why
your invoice price.
Right, but that's why you don't pay. That's why you do resale, because you're reselling it technically, because your quote unquote to go supplies are included in your costs. So you know what I'm saying. So when you charge sales tax at the restaurant, that's where you're being taxed on it. So it's a little more complicated and probably getting into what we shouldn't, but but anyways, check that. Make sure that if you don't pay tax on it, you don't pay tax on it.
That's a big one too, because just look at that.
Yeah.
And I would take, if you're using a foam container or a plastic container with a lid that's microwavable, check your invoice.
Right.
If you're being taxed on that, or those kind of items, foam containers, souffle cups, paper bags, take a look at it. If you're being taxed on that, you need to have a quick talk with your paper company and get that released.
Right. Let's go through a couple of quick things. If you have chemicals, make sure that you have them in a cage, lock them up. Don't let anyone just go in there and use them at will.
They're very expensive. Your degreasers, all that's very,
just
very
keep
expensive.
them controlled. Your hood cleaners, look at, the type of restaurant you have. You have a char grill and you need, look at the frequency, look and see how many, if you're every 3 months and you can go every 6 months, look into that. That's a good way to save.
Take a flashlight, look up there.
Yep.
If you're cleaning them every 3 months, you probably should get a better insurance rate on that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go right into
repairs.
Repairs.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
We're running out of time here.
Mm-hmm.
Repairs are a huge cost in your business. So you want to make, and one thing you can do to prevent that is get a heating and cooling company to come in based on the amount of compressors you have, $39 to $99 a month, but that can save you $5, $6, $7 for a compressor.
Yes.
It'll keep your food fresh. You're not going to lose any waste and bad temperatures. Making sure you have your strips on your doors. If you don't have them, that's very important, because if your cooler's staying cool and your freezer's staying frozen, your compressor's not working as hard.
Yep.
So it'll last longer. You're not going to use as much energy. Those really do work in keeping the cold air in. Make sure your staff is not leaving the doors open.
Oh, I hate that.
How many times do we find that? It's just 20 minutes, it's open.
When my staff did that, I always told them I was going to go to their house and open up the refrigerator and leave it open.
Right, and
exactly. People don't think it's you got to teach your staff too to think this.
And sometimes
this way,
investing in a new piece of equipment will pay for itself over the course of a year on the energy efficiency.
Yep.
So if you have some equipment that's struggling, you could even, I think, I don't know, I know in New York State they do this. National Grid will come in and do an energy audit in your building. Well, actually, they can actually tell how much kilowatts your oven is drawing.
Right. And
so
your coolers.
And coolers and freezers and all that. And he may tell you, look, if you get a new oven, it's only going to draw this much.
Right.
And you're going to save this much a year.
Right.
So maybe in 3 years, that brand new oven pays for itself.
Right.
If you can afford, sometimes you can't afford it. But
And your
if you
heating
can
and
afford
cooling company will tell you if it's going to be time. They'll tell you it's more expensive to fix it than to buy a new one.
Proper cleaning of your equipment.
Absolutely.
If you have cleaning charts. You're cleaning this once a week. You're cleaning this once a week.
Preventive maintenance is
once a week.
Huge.
That will get so much more use out of your equipment.
Yeah.
Your fryers, making sure they're clean.
Yeah.
When they clean them, they clean them. Not just dump it out, mix it around, and then fill it back up.
One of my clients didn't even have any degreaser. They use bleach and water for everything.
Who hates to clean fryers?
Everybody.
So
Everybody.
when they clean them, you can almost bet they're rushing through that process.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to, God, I use my hands a lot when I talk, don't I?
You do.
It's but repairs. Check your equipment. Look at everything. If you have timers on stuff that are coming on and off, make sure that's all working properly and so on. You might want to check outlets. If you have any broken outlets, could be drawing more energy.
Yep.
Take a good look at it. Take a walk around your building. Make notes.
Yep.
Just do an inspection in your own building. And anything that you see, make notes, and you got to get to it and fix it.
Right.
But repairs are a huge cost, and on your profit and loss statement, you want to estimate that in. Even though you're not spending money on equipment yet, maybe you're accruing $200 a week on your P&L. So that's coming. It's coming out, but it's really not coming out. But when you got to buy that oven, the money's there.
Absolutely, that's huge. That's a great point, by the way. To build that emergency fund, because how many restaurants they live almost paycheck to paycheck, if you want to say that, per week.
Sales to sales.
Sales to sales, absolutely.
It's a difficult.
So we hope that this last series really, last 2 episodes really help you kind of get an eyeball on your expenses and stuff, and feel free to check out an eyeball. I'm going to tie your hand so you can't talk.
An eyeball.
Yeah.
Make sure you got your eyeball on.
Eyeball right here. So we're going to wrap this episode up. Feel free to check out our website. We have a lot of great tools, and free items for you to look at. We got a lot of checklists for you already if you want to adapt those. Chuck here, that's
We're
one
gonna
of
have
his
a whole
specialties.
list of checklists that you guys can download for
Yep.
free.
And we have a lot of great articles on there, so feel free to check us out. We really appreciate that. And don't forget to on our YouTube channel to hit subscribe and come back to us.
And we'll also have links in there to direct you to certain laws in your state. We'll have links
Yeah.
on our website that will take you to different states or different, whole ball. Have the whole thing in one thing, whatever.
There you go, your hand. See,
The
I'm
whole
going to tie
ball.
your hand so you can't talk.
Telling you. Tie my hand.
All
I'm in
right, so
trouble.
that's it for this episode. This is Talking Restaurants. I'm Ken.
I'm Chuck
This is Chuck
Villafranca.
Villafranca.
Thanks for tuning in, and we
Thank
know
you.
your time's important to you.
Have a great day.